Today I want to show you how you can use GitHub to host your code files online. GitHub is used by professional programmers. It's really well featured. It does a whole lot of really cool stuff. We're only going to talk about the very basics today. Okay? So first thing you need to do is make sure you get a GitHub account. If you're a minor, make sure you get your parents' permission first. Your GitHub account will serve as a place for all of your code projects to reside. Once we create an account, we need to create a repository. A repository is basically a project, an individual coding project. The code for your project is all stored inside of this repository, and you're able to access all of the code in one place, and all of your projects are kept separate from each other. So let's start by creating a new repository. And you can name this repository whatever you want to name it. I'm just going to call it new repo. Make sure you spell it and write it out right. It doesn't accept some names, like if I do new repo, it says that I can create it, but it's going to be created with a dash in it. That's because it doesn't accept spaces. Create your repository, put a name on it, and then give it a description. Woo. Finally, in order to use GitHub, they expect you to know a technology called Git. That's why it's called GitHub. If you aren't comfortable yet with Git, if you don't understand Git, you can still use GitHub to host your files. You can upload your files, or you can edit files in place on GitHub. So if you want to do that, make sure that you initialize the repository with a README. That's going to make it so that you can have the ability to add and remove and edit files in place. Okay? So that should be all that we need to do. Now I'm going to click Create Repository, and it's going to take me to my repository page. There's a whole lot of stuff going on here. You really don't need to worry about a whole lot except for the file list right here. So this is where all of your files are going to show up. It created that README for me, and as you can see, the README is just the name of the repository and then the description. Okay? If we want to create a file, it's very simple. You just click this Create New File button, and then I can do whatever I want inside of this file. You want to make sure that you name your file. So if this was going to be an HTML file, I could type index.html, and then I could put some HTML in here. I'm going to write some HTML really quick. I'll be right back in just a second. Okay, now that I've finished writing all of my HTML code, I can save this. In Git and on GitHub, whenever you save something, it's called a commit. So I'm going to come down here and just click this Commit New File button. Don't worry about any of this other stuff. That just lets you write notes about why you're saving it, but we don't need to worry about that right now. So click Commit New File, and now my index.html is showing up right there. The only problem is it's not hosted yet. I can't actually see it. So if I do raw, it just shows me the actual text. If I want to actually render that HTML, I have to use a different service. There's one, if I just search Google for render GitHub HTML, there's one called HTML Preview. And so right here I can type in my file path. So right here is the path to the file, and I can just click this, and it's going to load my website. There it is. So if I want to publish this so that it's available publicly, I can do that very easily. All I have to do, once I have my index.html file, I just need to go to the settings right up here, scroll down to where it has the GitHub pages, and then for source, I'm going to choose master branch, and then click save. Now it takes a little bit of time before the website is ready, but you can see that right here, that's the URL where the website is going to be. So I can click on this, and it takes me right to my website. So that's how you can use GitHub to store your files and to host your files on GitHub.